Viewers and subscribers, it's another edition of the Coach's Desk with your host, Kevin Minze. And we Rahnsomn Edwards. And we'll be talking track and field. Rahnsomn Edwards, how are you?
I'm doing good, despite the challenges that we're all facing.
All right, good to know that you're doing well. And it's a pleasure for us to have you here on the Coach's Desk. Let us get right into it, Rahnsomn Edwards. Describe who you are.
Well, as a coach, I think that I am a passionate individual. I love the sport. I have somewhat dedicated all my life towards coaching it itself. I am knowledgeable of the sport. I spend the time to read a lot. I practically live on YouTube. I'm on the internet regularly. I research information and I impart these information to the athletes that I coach. And of course, on the internet, you're going to find information that is leading you down the wrong path. And I have to decipher what is good and what is bad so that I can improve my skill as a coach and also improve the charges that I coach.
Okay, Mr. Edwards, well said. Now, how did you get involved in coaching and to a greater extent, sports?
Well, at high school, I was an athlete. I was a finalist at Champs 1993 in the 400 meters. And then since graduating from high school, I went to Kingston College. And then after GC, I have done several IAF coaching courses all the way up to level 4. And I have gained a lot of experience along the way. And the inborn passion for the sport has definitely motivated me to move up the coaching ladder, so to speak.
Okay, wonderful. So you're a man that is qualified from the past doing track and field and qualified currently, being that you have done the coach's education, right? All right.
Yeah, right. That's correct.
You seem to have a knock, Eddie, for 400 meter hurdles. I don't know if it or the 400 meters. I don't know if it is because you did it at school, but you seem to have a knack for it as well as the hurdles. Talk to us about that.
Well, as you mentioned earlier, I am a former flat 400 meter runner, and I have done a lot of research. I read a lot, and this has improved my knowledge as a coach. I tend to coach based on science. In the early days, I used to make a lot of mistakes like the other coaches where I neglect the acceleration speed, 30s, 40s in the early season. I've always neglected that as a coach. And then I did some research and realized that speed is an important component of a quarter miler. And I tend to train all the 3 energy systems as I'm preparing a 400 meter runner. The lactic acid system, of course, the alactic system, and also the aerobic system.
Right.
And I have stressed the alactic system from as early as day one. From the very first week of training, I am doing acceleration work. And there are other components that I include in coaching the 400. As it relates to the hurdles, I tend to combine the flat 400 knowledge with the hurdles knowledge. And I have had some good success over the 400 hurdles. Names that come to mind, we mentioned Rochelle Clayton, who was a bronze medalist at the 2019 World Championship. She was one of my proteges. Marvin Williams, who was a world youth champion in the 400 hurdles. Also, he came out of my stable. And even recently at the 2019 Boys Champs, we had Quinella in class 2, 400 hurdles, and also won the class 1 in 50.4, which is a pretty decent time. And there are others who I'm not going to mention now, but there are others who have passed through my coaching and teaching, and they have done well, and they have reached a certain level. And even in the sprint hurdles, there are several number of athletes who have passed through my hands, and I'm still working towards getting to the highest level. The World Championship and the Olympics, of course, must be the ultimate aim for a coach at this time.
Definitely. And seeing you doing a lot of exploits at the 2019 Boys and Girls Champs with the champion Kingston College. Over the years, we know that Kingston College would have had a decent hurdles program, but I can categorically say that, Eddie, I've seen you made an impact on Kingston College in such a way like never before. You scored so many points for Kingston College in the hurdles event last year. Tell us about that. Why are you so intimately involved with hurdles?
Well, even to, just to backtrack a little, when we look back at my days at Great Technical High, there were athletes who were doing extremely well in the hurdles. Peter Gay, for example, who moved on, Peter Gay Williams, who moved on from there to St. Diego. She was one of my first projects, so to speak. She did extremely well. Tishana Monteith also did well in the hurdles. Then I moved to Manchester High. I had a pair of Nazi Freeman and Sydney Marshall. Those two were ranked number 7 and number 8 in the world as an under 18 athlete. And they went on to run a Quinella champs in the 100-meter hurdles. And then to St. Diego, Javel Granville, the first class 3 boy to run sub 13 at champs. The following year, Vashon broke O'Hara's record. We had a Quinella in the class 2 sprint hurdles. So Vashon first, Granville second. And then from St. Diego, then we moved to Kingston College. We had some excellent performances in the hurdles at last year's championship. Class 3, Quinella, Ray and Gray. And in class 1, we also had a Quinella with Pinnock and Cargill. And then in the 4 hurdles, we had a Quinella with Ike Campbell and Jaden Brown. And then in class 1, we had picture with Romel Plummer. So of all the hurdles on the male side at Champs 2019, we won all events with the exception of class 2. Technically, if we look into class 2, that I had something to do with the Quinella by the St. Diego pair, Granville and Vashon. So all the hurdles events at 2019 Champs, I think I had some contribution to the results, so to speak. I take a great interest in hurdles. There are a number of things that a number of coaches don't do that I do. I think that I have the eye for coaching hurdles. Seeing the flaws and the mistakes is one, but identifying how to correct it is another issue. And from the very get-go, observing a youngster hurdling and he's making a mistake, I can put 2 and 2 together and identify that he's doing this wrong, he's doing that wrong, which is causing the flaw in the technique. So that is some of the main issues that I concentrate on. I am keen on biomechanics. I think that biomechanics is key to hurdling, and I dwell on it so much. From as early as September, the walkover drills, I teach them how to do the walkover drills, and I bring them over. I progress to jogging, and then I progress to sprinting. And then one of the key things about hurdling also is that doing the drills at a slow speed will get you to a certain point, but running at race pace, it's another point to to mention, because you can do a million drills, and once you're not running at race pace or close to race pace in training, then you're going to find yourself into some problems. And when we look at it from a scientific point of view, muscle memory, and most of us would have knowledge about muscle memory. So if you keep doing the drills at a slow speed, your muscles are going to remember
the slow
how
speed
to hurdle at a slow speed, right? And then now when you start to have them hurdling at race pace or close to race pace, then it will make an impression in your muscle memory. And this will definitely make a big difference as it relates to the hurdling in itself.
I have seen you in action, Eddie, and trust me, when you talk about you have the eyes for correction, the biomechanics and those stuff, I have learned and I have seen how you have operated. And trust me, viewers and subscribers, this coach right here is an excellent hurdles coach. No doubt about that. All right. On the part of males and females, you would have coached male athletes, female athletes. Can you tell the viewers, who do you think or believe is the better persons to work with? And who do you prefer to work with?
Well, the results that I have gathered over the years have been balanced somewhat on the female side and also on the male side. I think that females come with a special mentality in the sense that you have to focus on other things other than coaching in itself. They're very emotional. When they can rough up a boy and get him to do the work by shouting at him and speaking aggressively to him, if you try that with a female or with a group of females, you may get a different result.
Like a withdrawal syndrome.
Yeah. So you may get a different result from her. So it's two different individuals, yes, and the approach has to be different. And as I said before, the females are more emotional, so you have to appeal to their emotions in order to get to them, in order for them to do the work in training. From a scientific point of view also, there, especially in the 400 meters, there are a number of issues as it relates to coaching a 400 female as opposed to a 400 male. For example, it takes 40 seconds of hard running for a male and also a female to incur a high buildup of lactic acid. But when you look at it from a technical point of view, a male can run 350 meters in about 40 seconds, while for a female, it's ranging from 300 to about 320 meters. So in a sense, looking at that from a technical point of view, in training, the ideal training distance for a male quarter miler is 350 meters, while the ideal distance for a female quarter miler is 300 meters, or somewhere in the region of 320 meters for the elite Olympic World Championship 400 meter females. So those are two technical point of view that I don't think that most coaches have done their research and know about this area. The 40-second barrier is a key barrier in coaching the 400, and coaching a male as opposed to coaching a female quarter miler. It has to vary because the quality runs for the 350s for the males, while the quality runs for females is in the region of the 300 or 320 meters. But back to the question.
Yes, Eddie, sorry about that. You were saying
Yeah.
you were going to answer the question. Sorry about that. Which do you prefer to coach?
Yes. All right. Coaching males and coaching females come with challenges. Females definitely have an emotional issue, and you have to be prepared as a coach to deal with the emotional side of coaching a female. And as I mentioned earlier, I was saying that you can rough up a boy, talk to him hard,
yes,
and you will get him to do the work. While if you try that on the female side, then they're going to withdraw. Most of them are going to withdraw themselves, and you don't get this effort that you in for. But results over the years is leaning towards the mean as it stands at the moment. But I think that I have a knock or an interest in coaching both males and females.
Okay, well said. Now, Eddie, are the high school performances, athletic performances, are they as good as the coaching?
All right, I've always said this, that in the early years at our high school champs, class 4, class 3, natural talent takes precedence over coaching. And I've seen it before where coaches come and they do a whole lot of things that is contrary to the science of coaching. For example, a sprint coach is going to come and for 4 months, September, October, November, December, he's going to do pure aerobic training, pure long jogging. He does no acceleration work, he does no speed development. And January, he starts the sprint training, he starts the acceleration work, he starts the plyometrics, and then the athlete goes to champs and wins. And based on the new development in coaching, speed development, speed training has to start from day one, week 1.
Yeah.
And I have seen coaches coach sprinters by not giving them any speed work for the first 4 months in training, and then the athletes go to champs and win. And when we analyze it, the whole situation or the whole scenario, talent takes precedence over everything else at the lower classes, class 3, class 4. But when you move up in class 2 and class 1, the coaching now, along with the talent, will definitely take precedence.
Definitely. I was just saying to the listeners and the viewers that in the first cycle of the periodization, speed is definitely important. Speed can't be neglected throughout that period of training.
And from a technical point of view, speed takes about 7, 8, or 9 months to develop.
Yes.
Right. When you backtrack from, let's say, champs is in March, and when you backtrack from March, February, January, go all the way back to September, that's about what, 7 or 8 months? So if speed takes 7 or 8 months to develop, why are you going to wait until January or February to start working on speed? And then many persons are going to say that, well, the athletes are going to get injured if they start the speed training too early. It depends on the volume and the length of or the distance in which you run. So, for example, in September, I will do 10-meter sprints.
Right.
In October, I will do
20. So you gradually increase it.
November, I will do 30-meter sprints.
Right.
So what you're realizing is that for every month, the distance is getting longer and longer. And technically, they are also getting stronger and stronger and stronger. So you're more likely to get an injury doing speed work over long distances. But the chances of you getting hurt doing speed work over 10 or 20-meter sprints is very small. And then again, the volume is also another factor. When we look at the principle of progression, you don't want to be starting off with 20 or 15 short sprints that early in the season. So you want to be starting with let's, for example, argument's sake, 4 or 5 sprints.
Yes.
And then every month you start to add on and add on and add on. So it's a gradual increase of the distance and also a gradual increase of the volume. And there are also other factors that are used during the first phase. For example, short hill sprints, sled training, all of these are part of speed development. Plyometric jumps are also a part of speed development. And these workouts should be done in the first 4 or 5 months of the training year. And then when you look at the results, people are going to say that, Rahnsomn is just a hurdles coach. But very few people are going to look at the results and remember the name DeAndre Whitehorn from Veer Technical. She won the 100 meter in all classes while I was coaching her at Veer. Her personal best was 11.50. Also, while at St. Jago, I coached a class 2 team that ran the second fastest time at Champs, 40.76. And there are also sprinters in that group, Javari Thomas, who ran 21.1, which are respectable. Chambers ran 10.5, which is also a respectable class 2 time. But I've been getting sprinters, but persons probably tend to think that I'm just a hurdles coach, but I'm not just a hurdles coach. I can coach all events, but it's just a matter of specializing in the hurdles.
Right. Now, Coach Edwards, due to the coronavirus, do you believe that going forward, the defense of your title will be hampered by preparations or the uncertainty of what is going to happen?
All right. For sure, the coronavirus significantly affected not only our track program, but all the schools. Their program has been affected because normally at this time, they would have been training in preparation for next season, and that has been significantly affected. And for next season, training normally starts in July, and there's a possibility that we may not even start until September based on the situation, the gathering of crowds, and
yes,
the pandemic. The safety of the athletes has to come first. And then when we look on the other side, the recruiting, there was no primary champs, there was no prep champs. And as a result, we practically are recruiting blindly. We're recruiting based on what happened last season. And we know that 1 year can make a big difference with an athlete, especially at the primary school.
Mm-hmm.
So practically they did in grade 5 and not necessarily what they did in grade 6. So that's another factor too. So for sure, the pandemic has affected the track and field. It has affected sports, and it has also affected everyone. So we're basically at a deficiency, so to speak. Everybody, not just Kingston College.
All right, Coach Edwards. Something controversial for you right now. We are hearing of news floating around that a few athletes from a particular school we used to coach will be joining you in September. Anything you have to say on that?
Well, rumors will always be rumors, you know, and at this time I will not speak about the topic. It's a situation where I don't want to elaborate on. Persons are going to talk, and they're going to say what they want to say, because simply they always want to put Rahnsomn in a bad light, and they want to fabricate some stories that don't actually exist. So I will not speak on the topic.
Okay. Now, we have reached the end of today's program, Rahnsomn Edwards. And it was very, very good having you here on today's session. And we learned a lot from you. I'm sure the audience would have learned a lot from you. But any final words that you want to say?
Well, coaching is a science, and it is also an art. And as a coach, to get the best results, you have to read a lot. You have to coach from a scientific point of view. Everything you do must be based on science, and getting the results will definitely improve once your approach is a scientific approach. As it relates to speed training should start from week 1, from as early as September. But the spacing between the speed training, there should be enough days for the muscles to recover. So for example, if you do speed training on a Monday, you want to give it Tuesday and Wednesday a break, and then you probably come back again on a Thursday. So you don't want to be doing speed work on back-to-back days like a Monday, Tuesday, and a Wednesday. Because in essence, whenever speed work is done, there's a micro tear in your muscle fibers.
Yes.
And then you need days to recover. You also need massage to manipulate the muscles and to speed up the recovery process so that the fibers don't get further damaged. So you need to space out the speed training. And then again, from as early as week 1, you want to mix all the different components. You want to be working on speed, endurance, tempo endurance. So all of those components, you want to be working on them from early. But the volume at which you do them is going to be another factor. And then I've always think that coaching is like cooking a pot of soup. I think of all the workout as the ingredient of the soup. So the speed, the strength, the speed endurance, the tempo endurance, all of those are my ingredients in the soup. And putting the ingredients in the soup is a process. It's a gradual process, and it takes a while. And you don't want to be suddenly putting in all the ingredients at once. So you want to be gradually putting in the ingredients so that at the end of the 8 or 9 months, you can drink the soup. So, and then on the other side of the coin, too much salt in the soup can't drink. Yeah, so I've always used this analogy to summarize my coaching philosophy, so to speak. But in general, I have a wide base of knowledge, and I tend to use it while I'm coaching. I study how the human body behaves or reacts to a certain exercise, and I know what to do at what point of the season so that the athletes can reach their optimum best when it matters most, because that's the objective, getting them to run fast when it matters most. So not running fast in December, January, or even in the early part of February. For example, this season with a youngster by the name of Ryan Campbell, the first year 400 hurdler, first year class 1 400 hurdler. In the early part of the season, I did a lot of loading, and I loaded the workouts from September all the way up to about January. And after January, I started to gradually unload, and started the season at 53, and then he ended up running 51 seconds as a first year class 1 athlete. And I tend to stress on loading. Loading is a key factor in coaching. And if you don't load, what are you going to unload? So you have to load. Yeah, you have to load. Load meaning you increase the volume, you increase the repetitions, you shorten the rest time. But this loading must be done in a gradual manner. You shouldn't suddenly start to do, for example, 10 300s. You want to build up to that 10 300s. So in September, it's 4, then October, you go 6, and then increase to 8, increase 10. So you want to gradually increase the load. And then now, when you reach 10, you want to suddenly jump from 10 and go back down. So you have to start on a gradual man. And then you go down to 6, you go down to 3. So the loading process should be gradual, and the unloading process should also be gradual. So you gradually increase the volume, and then also the intensity should also be increased in a gradual manner. So it's a key factor. Loading and unloading is a key factor. And I stress that throughout my training year. And of course, when the athletes are loading, they're more likely not going to run fast.
Right.
When you begin the process of unloading now, then you'll start seeing that the times are going down and the times are shedding. So loading and unloading is also a key factor in coaching.
Coach Edwards,
Yes.
viewers and subscribers, you have heard it here from Coach Edwards. The intricacies of training. I definitely will have to bring you back and let us talk about coaching in depth. Thank you very much, my friend, for being here and sharing your wealth of knowledge on the Coach's Desk. I'm sure a lot of persons will learn a few tricks or two from this. Have a wonderful day.
Yeah, man. All right. Thank you for having me.